How's it going, everyone? Been a minute since I've streamed, but I wanted to get back into it as I'm trying to upload more consistently again. Haven't decided who we're gonna watch yet, so make your voice heard. Tweeting it now. But yeah, if anybody has any suggestions for who y'all want to watch, please. I was thinking we might do. If nobody has an idea, that it's great. We'll probably just do. I'm probably just gonna watch VJ Edgecombe, one of his recent games, either against Utah or against Cincinnati. I guess Iowa State we could do. I've already seen the Arizona State game. Derik Queen. Ooh, we could do Queen. Yeah, that could be fun. Could definitely do Queen. Who's Queen played recently? Oh yeah, he just had the 27er against Minnesota. We could do that game. Have you don't stat? Is it a good slate tonight? I honestly have no. Like I very rarely. I mean, I've watched them play. I haven't like done any content on them really. I like Tomislav a decent bit. Not as crazy about Zvonimir. Let me look at Derik Queen. Ian Jackson is dope. We'll do North Carolina game at some point. We'll definitely do. We'll North Carolina at some point. Because I do like Ian, but for now, let's do this Derik Queen game against Minnesota. I love Derik Queen. I went from a relative skeptic to like kind of in on him, and now I'm all the way on him. I just can't deny his insane creation potential anymore, which I had been doing before. Nice rebound, pushing the break. I know he had some crazy highlights in this play. I didn't watch any of this game. I saw one dunk he had, I think, in this game that we'll see eventually. I'm sure. The Queen almost got the board there. I barely know anyone on this Minnesota team. I guess Dawson Garcia is still there. This Maryland team outside of Queen is also pretty rough. Ben Johnson, Lions coordinator and Minnesota basketball coach. Impressive dual sport coach. Queen. Don't love him popping inside the 3-point line and then not. I mean, I guess definitely. I'm definitely very I'd say I'm undecided on his shooting at this stage. But yeah, definitely have some worries about his shooting at this stage. I'm certainly not sold yet on whether or not I think he's going to shoot. Great rebound, though. It's absolutely a ridiculous rebounder, though, which we love to see. Yeah, Queen is fascinating to me. And I think an example of a prospect who, is that his fault? I mean, I think this is maybe on Queen, but also possibly on Zero. I think it's probably more on Queen. Like I don't know. It seems just like a miscommunication there that I don't know. Yeah, I'm not gonna necessarily dock Queen for that play. StreamYard is a streaming service, yes. That would be cool if they made a a way to watch games. Is Draftmatic still down? That's a huge bummer. Um, that Draftmatic isn't, but that Draftmatic got taken down. Hopefully, there's at some point a new Draftmatic or a similar thing will come back. Generally, you know, at least historically, when one of those film channels gets taken down, something comes and takes its place. It's just then it gets taken down, and then something comes up. So I'm hopeful that something else will come, but not much Queen involvement yet. Even though I know his box score is really good, I'm sure we'll get some stuff eventually from him. Queen. All right, post defense. Try to draw a foul there. It did not work. Good defense there by Queen. Just like totally reckless, out of control. How's it going, cool guy? Yeah, just not a great drive from Dawson Garcia, but nice post defense. Nice individual defense in the post by Queen. Also, just like Queen playing with another non-shooting big and Julian Reese, like just not the vast majority of college prospects will improve in terms of relative situation when they get to the league. But Queen definitely just given, like I said, he doesn't really have great guard play, and he doesn't have any phenomenal. Yeah, definitely closeout. Not the greatest closeout here. If it wasn't for the help, he gets burned, and I'd say that's kind of yeah. I don't know. I'm not huge on Queen's interior defense. Like I just struggle. Part of me, like I'm like, can I really have a center with this kind of interior defense as high as him? But yeah, it's definitely not a smart way to build a channel. I mean, the reason you do that, like a Draftmatic type channel, is out of the goodness of your heart, or at least I'd assume. I can't imagine that he was making any money on that, just because I'm sure they copyright flagged everything basically. Like I said, out of the goodness of their heart, but yeah, his defensive numbers are definitely better, just because he like is a really good rebounder and has quick hands and could definitely make some plays on the perimeter. But defensive numbers are generally oh, Jesus Christ, that is the worst pass I've ever seen. Oh my God. Oh, yeah, no, that's yeah, no. Yeah, I mean Queen, like I said, he gets steals and he has quick hands and can make plays, but definitely need to rely on the film, in my opinion, for defense, especially. But I think we've seen, Sabonis, Jokic, Şengün, similar like body types be fine enough on defense with the right roster construction. And it's not the best thing in the world to me when yourself for a prospect is like, oh, if they have this very specific roster build, then they can be really good. But I think Queen might be good enough elsewhere. What are these like? He's definitely trying these mid-range jumpers, which I like. That's good. Willingness to shoot those is the first step after all. All right, let's see what we got here with Queen. Can we get some minutes with Queen and no Reese? That would be wait, why is Queen on the Okay, yeah. Can we get some minutes with Queen as the lone big? That would be really nice. Switch. Post defense, he should be fine. Like just very strong, pretty quick laterally. Like Dawson Garcia has. I mean, obviously, like Dawson Garcia is not really like the greatest example of an amazing post scorer, but it's good to see Queen just like dominating these lower level post scorers in college on defense because of his strength and his quick hands and his pretty quick feet too. But which is nice to see, of course. Let's see. Queen in the corner. Yeah, just like not like an ideal role for Queen. Like you shouldn't. There's no reason for Derik Queen, who doesn't like to shoot, to just be sitting in the corner. Again, does a really nice job working for that offensive rebounds and helping get that like finding ways to contribute outside of his offense, but like still not ideal that that's the way he's being used. So I don't know. But again, this is less of a Queen problem and more of a like a Maryland's problem. Um, or just like like I said, relative to competition, he has a pretty bad situation, I think, even compared to a lot of other prospects. Like Queen, nice power, but loses the ball there. Ball control definitely not perfect here, but I do give him props for just like muscling back this Dawson Garcia. But yeah, ball control there. Not a horribly worrying turnover. Do I think his passing equivalent to Sengun Sabonis? I think it'd be better than both, honestly. I'm not huge on either of those guys' passing, honestly. At least relative to like other NBA centers. Like I think Şengün has like pretty serious processing and like consistency issues with his decision making. And I think Sabonis just doesn't really throw a lot of high level passes. Like he's a good passer, but I think his assist numbers are pretty inflated. But I think Queen can get to that level of passer or even higher, honestly, just because of the skill he's shown in the past. And I think assist to turnover ratio definitely is like an important thing, but not everything. We've seen plenty of players with assist to turnovers below 1 turn out as excellent playmakers. And Queen also just has like an enormous usage rate, pretty poor situation. And I think like these stats again, the context is important. Like I was doing some research earlier that I tweeted that like pretty much all of the Kentucky play because obviously Kentucky hired Mark Pope this offseason and they got a bunch of older transfers or just transfers in general. Every single one of those transfers is having a career year there in terms of assist to turnover ratio. Like it's genuinely absurd. But I just think that's like an opposite example of how situation can influence those kind of things. And of course the sample is so small. Like Queen's only played like 17 games. But no, I still certainly believe in his passing. I think he kind of has to score more for this Maryland team that just doesn't have a lot of offensive juice outside of him. But they haven't really given him the ball. Like he hasn't gotten the ball much in this game in the half court. So he must maybe he's more of a second half production kind of thing because I know he scores a lot in this game. Yeah, they're just like not. I don't know. I just hate that they have Queen standing on the block with another guy in the paint, like just watching his guard take a bad fadeaway jumper. Like it's just not a very pleasant team to watch outside of Queen. Yeah, I believe his assist to turnover ratio was really good in high school. But again, I mean, you can even like take that in the inverse, right? Like Montverde is always stacked and is always going to have other great players to convert his shots. Like Queen doesn't and to create, right? Queen didn't have to like be the primary creator on Montverde, and again, just like guards who are not going to pass him the ball. So that's potentially a reason that the assist to turnover ratio was higher. But no, yeah, I think this season it seems like less about like good offensive rebound, less about passing ability for Queen, and like the main things I'll be looking for are just the consistency and the decision making going forward because I know he can pass. Like I know he has vision, impressive craft. Just drops the ball there. But yeah, overall I really like Queen's passing. I think it's going to be fine. I don't have particular worries. And like I said, I think this Maryland context is really bad. Like even compared to the other centers, like I think Malawash has a really good context for him. Like honestly, probably better than he's going to have in his first year in the league, all likelihood relative to the competition level, at least, right? Like he has the best player in the country on his team. He has quite a few really good lob passers. Whereas Queen has none of that, right? Or even like a guy like Colin Boyles, right, who has just like a terrible offensive system, a roster without very much talent. So, firefish fly. No, Queen wasn't the first option at Montverde. He had Cooper Flag on his team. Um, And Montverde generally runs a pretty egalitarian offense. Even like when Cade was back at Montverde, he did um, a lot of like you know, quarterbacking, playmaking stuff. So Montverde like generally doesn't have incredibly high usage scores. Even if they were able to do that in like AAU or something, great rotation by Queen, but just none of his teammates coming to help there. Um, but yeah, no, he wasn't. Actually, I can check right now who is the leading scorer on that Montfort team last year. I don't think it was Queen. I think it was Cooper. Um, but I'll check right now. Montfort. NBA coaches are going to give him the minutes, need to justify his draft position. I mean, that would be silly, but I hear you. If you're drafting Derik Queen, right, it's not because you're drafting him to be a traditional big man. You're drafting him for the creation ceiling. Um, okay, Queen was second in points per game. So the point spread for Montverde was 16.3 for Flag, 15.5 for Queen, 13.5 for McNeely, 11.8 for Robert Wright. And 10.4 for Ace and Duel. So very even distribution. And that's how a lot of Montverde teams are. Like I said, just because one, they're like generally very balanced in terms of talent across the board. This Montverde team this year isn't actually that special compared to most years. McNeely averaged more in AAU, like when he was the one of the main creators for Florida Rebels. That was great. Beautiful move right there. Oh my God. Crazy footwork. Awesome play by Queen there. Yeah, no, McNeely averaged more at Rebels, but he just kind of played off the ball and shot threes and cut occasionally at Montverde. Switch. Good double by. Oh, Julian Reese could block. This double big thing is nice on defense at times for Maryland, but like it's just I don't know. I really wish they not just like constructed their roster differently, but just like did their rotations differently. Good bucket. I don't know how I feel about plays like I definitely think the Queen getting reps as a pull-up shooter is important. Also kind of wish he hit the corner. What is actually? Let me check what is number nine? Who's number 9 on Maryland's? That would be I don't even know. I was gonna see what he was shooting from 3, but anyways, I think Queen is Queen a bad fit with Trey? I don't think so. No. I mean, I don't think it's like the best fit with Trey, just because I do think you're incurring some risk putting like a non-rim protecting center with Trey. Like defensively, I think it's not ideal, but offensively, I think it would be excellent. I think that'd be awesome. Better prospect, Queen or Randall. I don't have a strong enough take on Prospect Randall. I'm trying to remember. I think I watched a little bit of Prospect Randall back in the day, and I think Queen is just more impressive as an advantage creator and a playmaker, but Randall was a little more physically impressive. I'd probably say Queen, but I think similar. I don't have a super strong opinion on that though. So have I ever seen Queen jump and catch and finish a lob? I don't think so. I mean, possibly, but I can't remember it. I could check my notes, but like I don't think so. Queen to the Pistons would be cool. Magoon Guath is good. Yeah. I haven't focused on him super intently, but definitely really impressive shot blocker. I've mostly watched San Diego State for Miles Bird, who I think is absolutely incredible. And because Guath is probably just going to be like a more long-term draft guy. But I like Guath. I like Pharaoh Compton. I like Taj DeGurville. I like that San Diego State team a lot. They have a lot of players I like. And Dutcher's obviously good. Good D by Queen. Queen is a really good like ISO defender. Like he has some defensive strength. It's not like Queen is just like a horrible defender. He just is kind of has weird defense things. Queen versus Prospect Shangoon. I definitely think Prospect Queen is better than Shangoon. I was lower on Shangoon than I should have been for sure, but I still think Queen is kind of just like a more impressive creator. Shangoon had a really impressive handle though, and was probably a bit better of a passer. Um, but I think Queen again, just like the haven't seen it so much in this game, but his ability to create advantages from a standstill to bend the defense, like to just be a primary creator option is beyond most of these like handling big types in my opinion as a prospect. And obviously Shangoon has developed a ton in the league and is a great player and could be an all-star, but I do still have my worries with him as like a long-term creator, whereas I think Queen could kind of nice spin move could kind of do away with those. But I don't actually know what Queen's wing spin is, but it definitely looks solid. Most of my issues with Queen on the interior are just like motor and like recognition, where I think there's just a lot of plays where Queen seems like he could be in position to make a play but doesn't, and at least historically, I think that's a pretty difficult thing to fix. Like that's like the classic DeAndre Ayton problem, right? Like constantly can get himself into position with his crazy tools, but just for some reason wasn't interested in going to block shots, whether that's like motor and effort or awareness and recognition and reflexes and kind of kind of impossible. His belly creates physical space. I think no, I think that's true. I think his core well, I mean, Queen's gotten so much more like skinnier and athletic over the years. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, Queen was just like a really a plotter, could not move in space at all. And he still has his issues there, but he's gotten so much more athletic over the years. But yeah, he's really strong in his middle. I think Queen should try to lose weight. I don't think it's I mean, I think the main thing you're worrying about with like the weight is just always conditioning and really I think Queen's a fine enough mover as is. It's just the balance between, adding weight in a way that's sustainable in terms of maintaining mobility, right? Because there are some guys who will add a lot of weight and lose their ability to move like they once did. But of course, it's important for him to be strong. Choosing a mouth guards like Curry. I my opinion on spreadsheet analysts on Twitter, I eat now hoops and their process is flawed. I don't know. I just think their process is different than mine, honestly. I rely on stats a good bit. Like I think they're really valuable. I just don't think they can replace, what you discern on tape because there's just so much context that pretty much can't be grasped with traditional stats unless you're like hand tracking stuff like I'm trying to do in some cases. But I don't know. I mean, I think everyone's process is flawed in some ways. I think they have the quote unquote like BPM scouting Twitter. Like I don't necessarily agree with a lot of their opinions, but I think there's a lot of truth into the stuff they do. Um, like I said, I ultimately feel like you have to watch the film because there's just like I said, so much context and underlying stuff that numbers don't capture, whether that's role or roster context. But yeah, no, I think yeah, I mean like I said, I don't necessarily agree with a lot of their takeaways. I definitely think I lean more on the film side than the number side, but I do think reliance on numbers is important. It's just especially with college stuff, like sample sizes are too small to travel. Yeah, he's lost his balance. Sample sizes are just too small, right? Even a full college season of like 30 games is a pretty damn small sample. And there are some things that stabilize faster, but generally, I just think, you know, there are plenty of issues with relying too heavily on stats when it comes, and especially for like high school data or lower level leagues, like the tracking might not be as good. Um, hope you're doing. Yeah. LA's been crazy, but thankfully I'm all right. We're all right. The fires at this moment seem to be dying down, and hopefully hopefully it stays like that. But yeah, I'm all right. Thankfully, I'm okay. everyone is so mean to each other. Um, yeah, I mean, kind of. I don't know. It's easy to be hostile on Twitter. I can be victim to that as well. But yeah, I mean, I don't. Again, like I think I don't really necessarily agree with the process that gets to Colin Murray Boyle second because I think there are like qualitative problems that you can see on the tape, but like undeniably very specific. Uh, Any centers who are below average defensively in college and turned into a plus NBA defender after drafted. There are definitely some. I think it's more common with perimeter players. Like I think of a guy like Jalen Johnson or I don't know, like Jaden McDaniels, who were like flashy but not really impact defenders in college, but obviously, obviously became incredible impact defenders. I just think about that. It's definitely not as common for centers um, to become impact defenders at the NBA level. And good drive by Queen. That was very easy. Just nobody even knew. Def- I'd have to think about it. But what do you think changed in order for Queen to go to a 4-year guy? I think. Well, I don't know what changed but I can tell you what changed for me, and it's just seeing him actually be an efficient primary creator at the college level is very different from doing it at the high school level. And he wasn't really even doing it at the high school level. As we discussed earlier, like, Montverde is kind of not really a setting where that happens. But I think just seeing him be, a highly efficient, 60 plus true shooting, 28 usage without a great team around him, I just think is extremely impressive and deserves a lot of credit. And I'm frankly kind of surprised that it looks as good as it does as early as it does. So, good block by Queen. There's the length. th- There's the length showing up. Yeah, like I said, I don't have a wingspan number. I'm sure I could find one, but good block, really good block right there. Queen have to hedge. Like, I mean, it depends. Teams don't hedge super commonly this year or these days. That definitely could be something his future coach does. Honestly, I think he's gonna be a decent enough switch big. But yeah, the drop stuff, I'm worried about. I'm unsure how exactly he's gonna function and drop. Um, What puts Queen above Wolf? Mostly I just think Queen is a much better scorer and advantage creator. Like Wolf is like a probably even a better handler and like his handle and his kind of flashiest passing. But I think Queen in terms of actually, bending a defense with his advantage creation, um, is just a little bit more effective. But I do really like Wolf. And I just think Wolf as a decision maker is much more raw than Queen. Where Queen definitely has his moments. Like Wolf, I think he definitely like I'm normally pretty lenient with like guys, high turnover guys, at the college level, but Wolf I think is fairly extreme in that regard to the point of where I'm like not totally sure what it looks like when he scales down at the NBA level because he's obviously not. I don't think he's like going to be a primary creator type guy like I think Queen can, but also I'm open to being higher on Wolf as well. Like I've definitely gotten higher on him throughout this cycle, and I'm still not as high as some people, but I'm definitely open to getting higher on Wolf. Wolf is Pistons bluntly. Neat Clifford thoughts. I love Neat Clifford. That's my guy. Neat Clifford is probably my second highest rated returner at this point, or like second or third after Murray Boyles. His efficiency, I think, is down a little bit this season. Um, Maybe, but like such an impressive defender, like manipulative passer, shooting, improving. Like Clifford, I think can. I really like Clifford as a three and D wing bet because he is a legit like dribble pass guy. Um, but I really like. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Clifford. Queen Wolf Broom. Yeah, skilled bigs are good. Can Igor even be considered a top 20 prospect in person Giddy? And I don't think Giddy is that impactful. I don't think it's. I generally don't like the logic of X player is not as good of a prospect as X player was, so therefore they cannot be. I think it's important to remember that like everything in the draft happens within like ranges of outcomes and probabilities, right? Like Josh Giddy wasn't destined to be the player that he was. I think like in a different, if in a different context, if different things broke the way, if I don't know behind the scenes, what he's working on, but I don't. Point being, I don't think he was destined. Like the way Josh Giddey turned out wasn't destiny. It's basically what I'm trying to say, and I think that's the same with Dem Demon, even though like I'm not a huge fan of his, and I agree with you that he's definitely a worse product prospect to me than Giddy is. It doesn't mean there's not a world where he can like develop the things that he like. His shooting can be really good. I have Igor. I think I have him around like somewhere in like the 20 to 25 range. I'm not, like I said, not huge on him, but like he is a legitimately awesome passer with crazy good vision and processes the floor really well. And if he can become a legit shooter, then that's a pretty solid player as like a jumbo connecting wing. Just just not like an initiator type, I think that some folks were projecting him as. Great pass there. Yeah, that's a good read, I think. You can maybe argue that Queen could have got this pass. Yeah, I don't know. But like 0-0 here right in his face, this defender sprinting back. So it makes sense to skip there for a wide open three. I definitely do give I do give him a point there. I think that's a good play. At the same age, was Aaron Gordon a noticeably better defender than Jalen Johnson? Do you mean as a prospect or in the league? Because I'm pretty sure Jalen Johnson in the league is a better defender than like 20-year-old Aaron Gordon was, at least based on my recollection of 20-year-old Aaron Gordon, like or like 22-year-old or however old he is. If I recall correctly, I don't think Gordon really became like that high level of a defender until he got to Denver, right? Um, yeah, Jalen has Kyle as a prospect was a much better defender than Yegor. Also, definitely. But I think there's some I do think there's like some similarity there. I don't hate that as a comparison, honestly. I think it's reasonable. I don't like it's not perfect, but Queen, oh my god, just shaking them out of their shoes. Um yeah, Jalen definitely. I mean, that's always been that's always been Jalen's biggest problem going back to college and even before college. The awareness and the recognition. I do think it's a lot better than it was even like a couple of years ago in the NBA. Um, and yeah, Atlanta's defense to me is also just like really fragile because of their lack of paint defense. Like they have like incredible perimeter defensive talent in spots. Obviously, like they have one of the best perimeter defenders in the entire league, and but there's so many weak spots on that defensive roster as well that it makes it tough to one for everyone to be consistent, and especially when Jalen, I think you might have said this, or maybe not, just because like he is one of the leaders in touches in the NBA, which of course makes it generally a correlation between or an inverse correlation between touches slash usage slash offensive responsibility and defensive engagement and attention. Not always true, but I would say also good look at Queen executing the switching stuff well. I do think he can be a legitimate switch big. Maybe not one that you like want to rely on in the playoffs, but I don't think it's like I said. I think he's going to be able to survive. I do think he's going to be able to survive. Are 6 and 10 on Maryland prospect. 10 is Julian Reese, who I definitely don't think is a prospect. Yeah, I don't think he's a prospect. Gafar 6, who is Tafara Gapare. Maybe if he kind of shoots the ball well. But Probably not. I don't think there are really any prospects on this Maryland team outside of Queen. Or at least if there is, they're all very fringy. I kind of like I have somewhat interest in five, the Sean Harris Smith is like a long term guy. I know I have some scout friends who were a big fan of him. Part of practicing is whether a guy's winger small ball five. Yeah, I think my general kind of rule of are they a small ball five is like almost answer to that question. Oh, beautiful skip pass. Answer to me to that question is almost always no. I think there's very, very few small players who can actually hold up at the five in high leverage minutes. I think Colin Murray Boyles could actually be one of those guys. Like I don't think a Sengwe is nearly a good enough rim protector. Like I think these small players, smaller centers have to be like elite rim protectors to me to be like a Draymond Green type is obviously your classic example, but like 6'7" or whatever with a 7+ wingspan and all time instincts and movement skills, like that's a guy who can play small ball five. But I think the vast majority of smaller players can't. But like I said, I think Murray Boyles is one of the rare guys who maybe could at times, maybe, but I'm not sold on that. Queen, I mean Horford level defensively is a crazy high bar, so I would say no. I mean, I think that's honestly more of like a mental thing than anything. Like Al is one of the smartest defenders of the generation, and I just don't know if Queen has that innate level of instinct and reactivity. Also, Al was an incredible defender in college too. Like he was a ridiculous defender at Florida. He got his ass whipped by Greg Oden in the title game, but Greg Oden was a monster. But yeah, no, I think it's definitely similarities in terms of body type, but Horford I think is such an outlier in terms of mobility and just like instincts and awareness. I actually have a YouTube video on prospects Horford. Mogbo has hold up pretty well. Haven't the Raptors mostly played Mogbo on the wing though? Like I feel like he's been kind of purely a wing for them, right? Which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I've watched very little Raptors basketball this year, so I could be wrong, but Raptors are one of the teams where I've pretty much I only watched clips of the players I'm interested in on that team. I have watched very few full games of the Raptors. I'm a good. No way, that's on. Is that really on Queen or is that on Gapare? I don't know. If that's on Queen, I don't agree with that. But I like Mogbo. Like I said, very, very rare to have guys who are actually like quote unquote small ball fives in like the playoffs. And Al Horford's like, again, all things considered, not that small of a guy, right? Like he's not that, he's not like a 7 foot or anything, but ooh, good take by Queen. I like that Queen is very decisive attacking these gaps. Like he should be, but I do think Queen's vertical pop has improved so much over the last couple of years. Like he could not jump. Honestly, I'm actually gonna check because I think he has like 20 something dunks this year. I'll check right now. Yeah, he has 23 dunks this year. Let me see how many dunks he had all of last season at Montverde. I can't imagine it's even going to be 23. Or I can check his AAU stuff as well too. Yeah, let's see. His last AAU season, he had. Okay, no, he actually did have 34 dunks, but still, I think it's going to be even more this year than that, and he's playing more games. Noah Horford Brewer, yeah, that dude, that was crazy. I obviously was not around back for then. Can you do a Sorber video? I have a Sorber. I have a Sorber video on my channel from I think a couple weeks ago where I broke down one of his games. So I'm sure I'll do more on Sorber in the future because he is very good. But I do have a Sorber video on my channel. Thoughts? Yeah, I agree. Thoughts on how Edie has played so far? I'd say really well overall. I think he's been, one of the 2 or 3 best rookies in the league. Obviously, a pretty low bar when it comes to this rookie class, right? It's not like there's a ton of competition when it comes to being the best rookie the best rookie this year. But I don't know. I think he's scoring and rebounding like I thought he would. Defense, I think, has honestly probably been a little better than I expected, even though there are still games, and I still have my concerns for what he looks like in a playoff setting as more than just like a utility rotation guy, which I think he can absolutely bring value as like a utility rotation guy for Memphis in the playoffs. But you know, I think he's solid. I think, like I said, I think he's probably, I don't know, maybe would be my vote for rookie of the year. Um, I don't know. It's This is like a 2017 level bad rookie of the year race, and possibly even worse. Um, I really don't know who I'd vote for at this point. Honestly, probably Edie or Wells at this point, but maybe Sar if he keeps trending upwards. Um, could definitely see Sar pulling away with the award if he just like keeps playing the way he's playing throughout the rest of the season. I don't know. It's a really brutal rookie year. Yeah, I'm definitely a little lower on Castle than a lot of people, but I don't think he's been like as amazing lately. Um, but I understand the argument for Castle Rookie of the Year. I think he's certainly in that tier. Yeah, I'm gonna freak out. I think he's certainly in the tier of guys who I think can be Rookie of the Year. Like I wouldn't scoff at anyone who thought he was Rookie of the Year this year. I just don't agree personally. I think his scoring is too limiting, but he is definitely good. I just prefer Wells overall on in like the complimentary wing type group. Can we give Queen the ball more? I need someone to call up Maryland and tell them to give Queen the ball more. Good board. Ooh, for three. Okay, no, I like him taking the threes. I do like him taking the threes. Yeah, it's not great. That is a direct result. I would call this breakdown directly as a result of Queen here, just zoning out and not just ball watching. Big board. Queen W than I think Queen's a lot better offensively than Prospect, and it's just like such a different era too. Like, oh, another great pass! Wow. Yeah, Castle's had really nice offensive flashes. I never denied that. Like, I think he has games where he looks like a really nice offensive player. It's just hard for me to get behind a guy who's like towards the absolute bottom of the league in efficiency from basically every spot on the floor as like a rookie of the year type. Even though he has been really good as a playmaker and a defender, and at times he's shown some offensive stuff. Like I said, I think Castle will be good long term. Like I do like Castle. I think the Spurs are a good spot for him. I just don't think it's quite there yet. But who knows? There's a long season to go. Hey, if Castle can put together like 20 or more games, ending the season with better efficiency, shooting the ball better, making better decisions as a creator, he could get there for me. So, like I said, it is a very bad rookie. Good finish right there. It is a very bad rookie class, and there's like 6 or 7 guys who I think you could reasonably make a case for rookie of the year. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, it, it is it is a shame that McCain obviously got injured, but at least at least I guess the injury makes it at least like a little bit more interesting of a rookie of the year race. Because I don't know, it was McCain and everyone else before. Oh my god. Yeah, this is the shit that I just like did not expect to see from Queen. Like legit, like self-created half-court dunks. Like I guess it's not fully self-created because he caught it in advantage situation on the pot, but like took a dribble. Like that is, whew. Oh boy, impressive Queen. It's been honestly a pretty quiet 27 to me. I'm not sure it's really felt like 27 points. Like, I think it's been a pretty solid Queen game, but I'm honestly a tiny bit underwhelmed based on the box score and what it could have been, but he's still good, just kind of running through guys. His touch and his strength are all so impressive, like, ability to create separation and cool. Yeah, this was a good Queen game, though. Is it crazy to say Sarr has been slightly better offensively than expected? I don't think so. I think I'd probably agree with that. The fact that Sarr isn't like the worst finisher in the league is kind of surprising to me. Um, and his and I've said this all year. Oh, beautiful, beautiful pass. Man, Queen is just cooking. I've said this before, but Sarr's passing, I like Sarr's passing in the NBL, but it's better than I thought it would be to this point. So yes, I say. I had Sarr as like a clear top two guy in the class. I think I thought him and Ron Hollins were like 1A, 1B. But I definitely expected offense to be a real struggle. And I think it is obviously still a struggle, but he's a little better on offense than I anticipated. Also, good movement here from Queen, hedging out, hop, flipping. This is really impressive to me. We're just gonna ready the one back foot, hip open with one step. Really good. I like that mobility a lot. Um, but yeah, I think Sarr is more impressive on offensively than I thought he would be. I thought he'd be fine offensively eventually, and I still do. But the fact that he's already, kind of improving as a finisher, and the 3-point shooting is stabilizing, and his passing is good. Like, I feel really good about Sarr. I'd probably have him one over Holland in a redraft if I had to, but like those two, like I said, were like 1A, 1B, neck and neck for me. But do I think NBA team have better models than the spreadsheet scouters? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Absolutely. But yeah, Queen again, just not really a factor as a rim protector. Can definitely see the lack of vertical pop from a standstill. I'd also be curious about Queen's standing reach compared to his wingspan. Because on plays like this, like it doesn't look like his standing reach is particularly high. Like he has pretty kind of like stocky like shoulders. So I don't know if it's that high of a standing reach versus because his wingspan I definitely think is pretty impressive, which we've seen a couple times. But yeah, again, I think Queen is a guy who like if you're taking Queen, you need to be aware of his limitations and be willing to team build around them creatively, but is also somebody who, if you can do that, I think the reward is extremely high, which is, I think why Queen isn't like a top tier prospect in this class, but is a very good one because like the ceiling is as high as probably anybody in the class outside of, Flag or Harper to me. If he gets in the right situation. But like he's obviously much more situation dependent than like Flag or Harper, who like I think even like Yakuchonis to a lesser extent, I think could go literally anywhere and be awesome. Whereas Queen, I definitely think will be more situation dependent in terms of hitting his ceiling versus just being like a solid role player. But anyway, this was a fun game. I really enjoyed watching Queen in this one. Yeah, Queen was quite impressive, honestly, all things considered. Definitely a slower first half, some defensive issues, but I mean, this is all of the Queen games, right? It's like some of the creation and like the playmaking flashes and the scoring touch, just like special stuff. Undoubtedly special stuff. So cool. That was a fun game. I enjoyed. I definitely. I'm gonna input this into my tracking spreadsheet. For those curious, I was grading this game in the background. Queen came out of it with a plus 12 score, which is above the average. Average is about 9.5, I think. Last time I checked. So yeah, good game, I'd say. What date was this game from? Was Jokic better defensively as a prospect? Not really. Jokic was not a good defensive prospect. I have a prospect Jokic video on my channel. if you're interested, from a couple years ago, where I dove into his prospect film, um, which was super fun and I really enjoyed. But Queen played 36 minutes, 12. But yeah, prospect Jokic, I don't think was a very good defender. He was actually way more mobile than I thought, though. Prospect Jokic could really move, which was surprising. Like he added a lot of. So Jokic got drafted, and then he played one more year in Europe, and then came over, I believe. And like he added a lot of weight after his draft year. So, but Derek Queen is moving up in the world at least in terms of my tracking. Gillespie doesn't pass up to Queen higher than Sorber. Yeah, I have Queen higher than Sorber. We can, you know what? I'll throw some Ian clips on just for you, buddy. I'm not going to watch it. I don't have time for a full game, but we can just watch his offensive clips from the last couple games. Because I do have to head out in a little bit, but like I said, we'll watch Ian's offensive stuff from the recent games. Yeah, Gillespie. I don't think the guards pass the Queen nearly enough. I would pass the Queen much more if I was on that team. But you know, who knows? Maybe it's like
maybe as good a guard inside finishing in traffic as there is in this league. Drake Powell, his first venture into the State Carolina rivalry.
What have you thought of Drake so far? Leaky Black. Assuming you are, of course, the real Leaky Black. I think I watched one. I think I watched one full North Carolina game. I watched the UCLA game in full, and Drake was really impressive on defense in that game. But Queen grabs the board, push in transition. Ooh, loses his handle there. Unfort that my guy Paul McNeil is. Pew. Can I explain why Trey and Con Knipple are comparable players in a lot of boards, or specifically why Knipple's still so high? I think I do have Trey higher than Knipple, but I understand having them in just because Con definitely hasn't been as good as I thought he would be, but like I think he's an equally good shooting prospect as Trey, or at least similar. I mean, I think when you consider the high school sample, Con is easily a better shooter than Trey over that time, and he's also been an incredibly good passer. Duke has asked a lot of Knipple as like a Duke has asked a lot of Knipple as like a pick and roll playmaker because they just like don't have great consistent passing guards. Like Proctor's not consistent, Foster's not consistent. Like he and Flag have been their main pick and roll guys. So I think Knipple, while his like athletic limitations have definitely been exposed, but I do think he's still a pretty valuable bet in terms of like the combination of like versatile movement plus pull-up shooting and high-level pick and roll passing. Like it's a pretty rare combination. So I think just having those two high-level traits are very worth betting on to me for Knipple at some point in like the top 20. And I do think he like honestly does share a lot of weaknesses with Trey. Like both really struggle to get to the rim. Both aren't super vertically explosive finishing when they do get to the rim. I think Knipple's a bit better of a passer. Trey, I think actually a lot better of a passer. Trey is a good bit better of a scorer, but I do think they're fairly similar. I like to see Ian. Just that's a tough shot. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with that. I assume we're talking about Drake. Yeah, his defense is so impressive. But yeah, no, I'm not super high on Drake either. I know there were a lot of people on draft Twitter who had him really high before the season. Definitely like a lot of people who I really trust and respect were very high on him, but I wasn't super high on him. I worried a lot about the offense, and it's kind of been as I expected. Though he'll like, I mean, Drake is the kind of guy who, like, even on offense, he'll have like one or two plays a game where it's like, oh shit, like that is a guy. So at least in that way, I think he's valuable. Like, I mean, I think he has more like high level flash plays on offense than Ian does, whereas Ian's just like much more effective and consistent. Um, Cat considered a great defender in college. That is correct. Cat was a good defender in college. I think Cat definitely kind of did not improve in terms of his conditioning. Like he was generally in worse shape to me than he was in college, and also just never really improved in terms of like physicality and like that kind of area, which is a very important thing, right? Because the jump in physicality from college to pro is enormous. Just so you guys know, the ACC is very copyright striky, so this stream might go down soon. If that does, I was going to end it soon anyway, and I appreciate you all for being here. But just heads up that I anticipate this stream might get taken down, but it's fine because I was ooh, beautiful, beautiful. That was an excellent drive. Oh, beautiful. Definitely have like second gear questions, right? Like he honestly gets up pretty decent there off of 1 foot, but that's a very difficult shot. But handle is really beautiful handle, impressive finish with his left hand. Like Ian is very skilled. Kasparis with 19, 4, 3, 6, 10 from the field. Oh yeah, he's definitely the best guard after. Yeah, yes, absolutely. I think he's very much the second best guard in the class, and I think it's not that close. I think there's a lot of guys who I think you can make a case for as the nice extra pass, as the third best guard in the class. But I think the top two are very clearly Harper and Yakuchonis, at least to me. Ooh, Ian, big dunk. 3. Yeah, fairly quiet. I was going to say, Ian, I'm kind of, I do kind of worry about like these kind of combo-ish wing types like Ian without like any real like elite standout traits. Like Ian to me is like really good at a lot of things. Like maybe his shooting is just this good. Like you know, he wasn't this good of a shooter in high school, but he's been really good recently. So maybe if he is just like a really good versatile shooter, like he can have a role as a combo wing. Just like guys who are good to great at everything sometimes worry me, but Ian is like a legitimately very good handler. Just very skilled, can defend. So I would certainly draft Ian Jackson at some point, probably like late first, early second at this point. I think he's good. Also, I'm pretty sure Ian's a little bit older for a freshman, if I'm not mistaken. I think so, at least. I believe Ian's old for his. Yeah, I believe Ian is a little bit old for the class. Oh, they're playing zone. Gross. I'm skipping to the next game. I don't want to watch him play against zone. Notre Dame, you better not be playing zone. Notre Dame has some of the worst defense I've seen of any high major team this year, though. Like this team is just like atrocious on defense. Am I on board with the big pull up? Nice shot by Ian. Am I on board with the rising Danny Wolf love? Yeah, I'd say so. I'm probably not as high on him as some people are yet. But I do think he's very intriguing. And I don't have like a full. I've only watched like 2 or 3 Michigan games this year, so I don't have a crazy set opinion or anything. But he's certainly intriguing. Supposedly a crazy hard worker. Yeah, I mean that does matter. Like there are some guys who are just like outlier workers, and that gets in there. Like the 2 biggest examples to me of that are Emmanuel Quickly and Zach LaVine. I think even Quickly more so because Levine was like pretty bad in college in terms of like impact, but just always had the crazy physical tools and could shoot. Whereas Quickly was just like a kind of like mid college off ball 2 guard. And like I did not think he was much of a prospect at all. at Kentucky, but just like, again, one of those guys who's supposedly a total outlier, hardcore worker freak. Don't buy the defense for Wolf. Yeah, I'm very uncertain on the defense for Wolf as well. I agree. As if Ace and Reddish are the same height, who's better? Probably Ace still, honestly. I did not think Reddish was a very good prospect. Good job by Ian getting downhill. Yeah, his burst is pretty good. Like, it's not like special or anything, but he can get downhill and create advantages. Like, he definitely does it. Okay. Probably Ace. I mean, I think Reddish was just like a dreadful offensive prospect. Where like Ace at least has like the elite mid-range shot making and some of the off-ball shooting stuff to hang his hat on, where Reddish was just like not really an efficient shooter from anywhere and didn't pass the ball or dribble really. Reddish, I'd say, was a more like consistently impactful defender at the college level than Ace, but you can probably argue that Ace has better tools for defense because of his fluidity and that vertical explosion. I'd say Ace is better overall. But I don't know. I think I had Cam. I remember where I had Cam in 2019. I think I had Cam in like the late teens. I'm pretty sure I had him like 17 to 20 in that draft, if I remember correctly, which I think is probably fine. Like, I honestly could have had him even lower, knowing how his career went. But like, I don't know. Like, Cam's he's been in the league for like 5 or 6 years. He's a okay regular season rotation player. Nice touch by Ian. Don't always love his shot selection, and like that's a really difficult shot, but his touch is really nice. Who's the best NBA player who? Yeah, I think it's honestly probably like a decent amount. I'd say the work ethic thing, like I often believe more in like the good work ethic reports than bad. Very much what I said with the same heights would be fun way to make a board. That would be fun. Best NBA player. I mean, there were plenty of people who claimed that Anthony Edwards wasn't a guy who really cared. That's the first one that at least comes to my mind. Yeah. Ian's handle is so good. Definitely don't love the finishing process here. He's honestly fortunate to draw a foul, and Notre Dame has no rim protection. Definitely a little concerned with that. All right, I think at the end of the clips for this Notre Dame game, I'm going to end the stream. So if anybody has any last minute questions or thoughts they want to get in while we're watching the end of, oh my God. Oh my Jesus. Holy shit. Wow. Damn. Harder work ethic, Fred VanVleet or Giannis? I have no idea, honestly. Maybe I don't know. I have no clue, to be perfectly honest. I couldn't even come close to answering that. Well, the Ace is comfortably better than Jabari. Yeah, I think Ace and Jabari are pretty similar level prospects. Definitely, I don't think that Ace is like a world's better prospect. I think I've been saying this for a good amount of time that they're similar. Obviously, they have differences, but I think archetype-wise they're similar, and strengths and weaknesses-wise there's a lot of there are broad similarities. I think I'd probably prefer Ace just because I do think he has a more dynamic offensive ceiling with like the real movement shooting and some of the pull-up creation stuff. But Jabari was a crazy off-dribble shooter in college. Ace a wing or a small ball five? That's kind of the question that has me. I'm not big on Asa. Probably a small ball five, just because I don't think he has wing skills. Like, he doesn't really dribble. He's not a great passer. Shooting is questionable. He's a good college big defender, and he's like pretty athletic, can jump, but also is probably a little below the size where I'd be comfortable with him as like a full-time five at the NBA level. I definitely think Asa is like a tweener in a bad way. Where they're definitely guys who are tweeners in like not bad ways, but I think Asa is one who I struggle to see the NBA fit unless there's some like pretty significant development in like his shooting comfort or any kind of ball skills. Like I don't find him to be a particularly compelling passer whenever I watch either. I do think he can like be a really good like 4 defender. Nice takeaway. This has been a really impressive Ian game. I swear to God, every time a prospect plays Notre Dame, they just fry. Like Dylan Harper, he had the like 40 whatever against Notre Dame. Cooper had the 42 ball against Notre Dame. This is a horrible defense. Have I watched JQ? I love JQ. I've been a big fan of his for years now. What's my earliest Jaden Quaintance tweet? I've loved him for a long time. He was so much fun in AAU. He was like it was fun in AAU when they let him like bring the ball up and dribble. Yeah, I tweeted about Quaintance in July of 2023. Yeah, he's a sick player. I mean, he is a special defensive player. Quaintance is kind of absurd that he is 17 years old, won't turn 18 until like late this year, and is as impactful a defender as he is. And there's some like offensive flashes when it comes to Quaintance too. So yeah, he's a special prospect. I think Quaintance would have like a very strong argument for the second best prospect in the class if he was eligible this year. Of course, he's not eligible this year. And I think he's going to, I mean, next year at the top is just so ridiculously loaded that I think he'll probably be like, probably 4th. If I had like my, way too early 2026 projection would be he ends up as the 4th guy. But that's like a 4th guy that could be a number 1 guy in weak classes. Like I would have very, very easily taken Quaintance as the number 1 guy last year. Bird or Penda? Definitely Penda. I think Penda is just kind of a different level athlete, like and physical tools guy, and I think his feel is kind of on a different level too. Like Bird is really impressive with his like pass lane jumping instincts, and some of his off ball game is pretty refined. But I think Penda, in terms of like his physical ceiling, is just ridiculous. I wasn't super high on Prospect Jabari. Let's see, where did I have Prospect Jabari in that class? I can tell you right now. I had Jabari Smith. Okay, so I had Jabari 4th, actually. I had Jabari behind Paolo, Chet, and Ivy, which I think is fine. I have no regrets. But anyways, any last questions? If not, I'm going to end the stream off. I still think Crawford's going to be good. He's been good in the G League. He's going to be good when he plays. Have faith. Anyways, thanks everyone for being here. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Jace Richardson comp. Jason, okay. I honestly don't know yet. Haven't thought of that. But anyways, have a nice day, everyone. Thanks for hanging out.